Alright, welcome everyone. It's the third time I'm shooting this video. First couple times I tried using manual focus and the video came out really blurry, so I just went back to trying autofocus. I was trying to prevent all the breathing that this camera does with the autofocus, but we're just going to live with it for now. Hopefully the autofocus works. Today we're going to take a look at a song called Sister Havana by a band called Overkill. Now, I don't know exactly how many albums the band has. I was only familiar with their first album. I think it's just self-titled Overkill. But again, it's another early 90s, mid-90s kind of band that very, very guitar-oriented band. If you're a guitar player, I recommend listening to their stuff. That first album, anyway, is really, really good. So definitely check that out. But let's jump into it here and take a look at the song and see what it's all about. So the song starts off with, it's a bar chord sequence in D minor, and he's actually playing the low fifth on there too. So I'm playing a bar over the 5th fret, and 7/7 on the D and G string. And you get I'm just focusing on the top 4 strings, right? And then I'm moving up to a B flat bar chord, which is a 6th fret, E string, and then 8/8 on the D and A and D strings. And then we're basically taking that bar and we're moving it up to the 8th fret, and we're doing 8/8 10/10, and then 8/10/10. So a C bar chord at the end, or power chord at the end. So you get this kind of thing. And that's kind of the riff you're playing. That little pause on that C at the end. All right, and then the first verse comes in, and we're playing the same pattern, but it's kind of muted. You're muting in between to basically make room for the vocal. Now, in between the first half of the first verse and the second half of the first verse is a little guitar riff that pops in there. And that is a 5th fret on the B string, 6th fret on the B string, 5th fret B string, 5th fret G string, 7th fret G string. Sounds like this. Actually, more like a hammer-on that 5 and 6 on the B string. And then you pick the 5th and 7th on the G string. And that moves us into the second part of the first verse. And it's basically the same thing, just bashing out those bar chords. And then at the end of the first verse, towards the end, you get the "When I'm watching you and Fidel Castro in the center." Twice on the D. And then you're gonna move, you're gonna move that D power chord that you're playing with the A, with the 5th on the bottom there. You're gonna move it to an A power chord. 5/7/7 on E, A, and D. You're gonna give it a chug. Girl, you got to know. And we're into the first chorus, and it's the same chords as the verse. Sister Havana, and you end the first chorus with that little quick shift from the G and the C. There's a little wash kind of effect on the guitar at that point. It almost sounds like a flange or a phase of some kind. Gives kind of a rotating feel. And then we're back into the verse, the second verse, which is, again, same chords, just kind of doing that little muted thing. Now, right there, between the first half of the second verse and the second half of the second verse, he does a little move on the guitar, which is just shifting some power chords around. You're hanging on that C. You're gonna do. That's the move. So it's a D power chord or a C power chord down to a B power chord. So from the 8th fret to the 7th fret, back up to the 8th, 9th, 10th. And that brings us into that D again. So we start the second half of the second verse here, not here. So it sounds like this. And you're back into the riff. And we're back, and we head into the second chorus from there, which again is the same chorus as the verse. Girl, you got to know, Sister Havana. Now, right there, when he sings that first Sister Havana in the second chorus, there's a clean guitar that pops in there, and he's playing a cool riff. It's kind of got a chorus or a flange effect on it. It's almost kind of got like a Police Andy Summers kind of sound to it. I mean, it's a really clean sounding guitar, but it's this riff here. Turn up just a little bit more. So 2 on the 5th fret D or A string, 7, 8 on the A, 5 on the D, 7 on the A, 8 on the E, 6 on the E, 5 on the E, 3 on the E. That's kind of that's how he's playing that with that kind of that pattern. Now he does that once. Then there's a second riff that comes in, and that one sounds like this. So that's again a 5/5 on the A string, 7/8, 7 on the A, 8 on the E, 8/7/8 on the A, 5 on the D. So you get. Now the sequence that he plays this in are then twice for the other riff. Oops. And then he plays the first riff again. Oops. And then they go into kind of like a little build-up section just before the guitar solo comes in. And I hear one guitar doing kind of an open G, and then a 5 on the E, and vamping between the 5 and the 6 on the E. Kind of sounds like this. Bass is moving around. The bass note, the verse chords, basically verse notes. So kind of a. I've seen him play this live. He kind of does looks like he's doing a finger picking thing, but I'm not even sure that that's happening. So, so just one guitar's doing that. Bass is doing the moving. And then you've got a second guitar that's doing a kind of a build-up riff in between those little other patterns happening. And that is a bar chord on the C, or 5th fret, C bar chord. So third fret on the A, 5th fret on the D string, and you're doing taking that pattern, moving it up to the 4th fret, and then the 5th fret. The third time around, you're kind of moving. You're going to climb that riff, those bar chords. So. Sorry, 4th time around. Then we're going to go 7/8, 7, we're going to slide up to the 7th fret, 7 and 9, 8 and 10, and then 10 and 12. And that's going to sound like this. And that leads us into the guitar solo. Guitar solo starts, you're going to do a full bend. You're going to stop at the top of the bend. You're going to release and you're going to pluck on the 5th fret G string. So it's going to sound like, get to the top of that bend and stop it. Release, come back down and pluck that 5th fret. Then you're going to do a half bend and release on the 7th fret D string. 5 on the D, 8 on the A, 5 on the A, 8 on the E. So you get this. Sorry. Play that twice. And then you're going to play the same kind of riff, just up an octave higher, and you're playing in a different position. So you're going to be bend and get to the top of the bend, stop the bend, release, and pluck the 13th fret on the B string. So you get this. Full bend, mute it, release, pick. Then you do your half bend and release on the 10th fret B string. And you're going to walk down the pentatonic scale, the D minor pentatonic scale, basically. So 12-10 on the G and 12-10 on the D. Third time around, you're going to climb back up. You're going to go 12 on the D, 10 on the G, 12 on the G. You're going to do kind of a bend with a pull off. So bend. And when you get to the bottom of that bend and release, you're going to pull off to the 10th fret on the G. And you're going to hammer on back up to the 12th fret on the G and bend it and kind of give it a wiggle, basically. Alright, so that whole riff sounds like... Right? And then we're going to do a little... This is what basically would be the next part is the true bridge, I think, of the song. And we're just bashing out bar chords. It's 5-5-7-7, and then 5-7-7 to the A. So you're basically going between the D and the A bar chords. You're going to move all that up 3 frets. And back down. And you chug it in between. Now the third time, you just start bashing on the chords and you go in between. There's no chugging anymore. And again, the third time you're doing that, instead of doing the staccato thing where you're stopping in between, he just starts bashing out and letting things ring out. And it kind of builds that whole part of that song and makes it sound, it just kind of gets a little more psycho than the rest of everything else and just mishmash of just guitar. So girl, come on, you got to... And they get back into the chorus on the way out of the song, and that is the same as everything else has been, so that this usual bar chords. Sister Havana. Now that little riff comes in again after that first Sister Havana. That little clean guitar riff that we played earlier comes in, except it's a different sequence now. He does that first one. Oops, sorry. He does that one once, and then the other one 3 times. he goes into his little outro guitar solo. Again, the band's still vamping on those 4 chords, right? And the outro solo is the second half, or starts off anyway, with the second half of the guitar solo that we play in the middle. Now this time around, instead of walking back up and, you know, hanging on that G string, now we're going to do a little sequence that vamps between, as you're bending up that G string, you're going to take your pinky and grab the 13th fret on the B and play that kind of in between. So you're going to get this. Release the bend. 10. 10 on the B. You're going to do a full bend and release on the 13. Back to the 10 on the B. 13. And a full bend up, and just hold it. Give it a little shake. So. He just kind of vamps in between all that. Live, he kind of I've seen him go up and he grabs the 10th fret on the G, on the high E, and plays that as he's doing the bend up to it, and you kind of get that dissonance, right? So. As he's shaking, it kind of goes out of tune. You get that little warbly sound. And then in between, a couple of times toward the outro, as he's bending that 13th fret on the B string, he'll grab the 13th fret on the high E with his pinky underneath it, so you get a. That kind of thing. And that's basically the entire tune. Those are all little parts you need to put it together. That's a fun tune. It's cool when you pull that one out if you're in a cover band or variety type band, and you pull that one out and there's a few people in the crowd that recognize it. They go nuts. People love that tune, and when they hear it and it comes on, or if the band starts playing it, yeah, they get full on into it. It's a powerful little tune, so get you moving. All right, guys. Hopefully this is the last time I've had to shoot this video today. And again, one-man show. I was hoping to get one of these out every week. I just haven't been able to do that. I am hoping that as schedule starts to permit and I can start making more time for these, I can actually get into like a weekly schedule. Right now I'm just going to try to do as much as I can and get them out there as often as I can. I appreciate you, all the kind comments you guys have on the videos. If you want to see the playthrough for this video, I'll put it down in the comments. So there's some of these tutorials that I'm doing will be songs that I've already done a playthrough for, and if that's the case, I'll put a link down in the description area for you guys so you can see the full playthrough. And yeah, that's it, guys. I appreciate the support. Hope this helps some of you guys out there that have been wondering how to play this tune. And if you have any questions, put them in the description below. I'll be sure to answer them as I can get around to them. The usual stuff: like, comment, subscribe, and share. All right, guys. Much love to you all. Make some good decisions. We'll see you in the next video.